Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new, my name is Sierra and my channel is dedicated to my life and everything in between. Today we're going to be doing a video on something that I felt compelled to do only because of my most recent clinical rotations with my dealings with a registered nurse, bedside nurse. And I kind of just wanted to talk about it because there's so many things on my mind about what I witnessed and what I've been hearing, etc., etc. For those of y'all who still don't know what I'm talking about, I am a nursing student. I am going to Chamberlain University and I am set to graduate in 2026. And it has not been an easy journey, of course, especially for those of y'all who know. You know, it hasn't been easy, but I'm sure it'll be worth it with what I'm trying to do with my life as a whole. I had wrote down some topics because boy, oh boy, there's quite a few that I wanted to kind of like brush over. So really I wanted to do this video to cater to the ones who are either thinking about going into the nursing field or those who are in nursing school like myself and is experiencing what I'm experiencing. What are you talking about, Sierra? What I'm talking about is all of the discouragement that you hear about being a bedside nurse while in nursing school. Y'all, I can't tell y'all how much discouragement I have received. It's just been so much. Luckily, I'm not the type of person who gets discouraged that easily, A, and B, you gotta know your why. I know why I'm going into nursing. I know what I intend to do when I get into the nursing field, which is, for example, not be a bedside nurse forever, because the things that I'm going to mention to you right now doesn't mean that these things aren't happening. In fact, a lot of these things is happening when it comes to bedside nursing. From what I have heard by many sources, some sources including my own family members that's in the nursing field. So I'm not saying that these things don't exist. I'm just saying don't be discouraged by it. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you want to be a bedside nurse, you know, for a long time. Me personally, Sierra, I don't want to be a bedside nurse forever. And some of these reasons that I've been told are exactly the reasons why I don't, coupled with a much bigger umbrella, which is I don't like doing 9-to-5 jobs for very long. Nursing is just more of like a means to an end for me. I have an entrepreneur mindset, meaning I want to own my own companies outside of nursing. Now, it doesn't mean that I'm not gonna keep my license up to date, because I am, right? I'm working hard for it, but I won't be doing nursing forever is what I'm saying. You know, at the very least, I would scale down to per diem as I'm making my other passions in life blossom. But anyway, this video is really about all of the discouragement that I have received and heard from primarily all nurses. Let's get into it. So the first thing that I hear constantly, and I mean constantly, from my mom to my sister to all of the nurses that we have done clinical rotations with, to my professors even in lecture, because I like people to tell me the truth. They say as a nurse, you get blamed for everything. When I say everything, I mean everything. Like, even if the doctor made an error on his prescription that he want you to administer to the patient, they make it seem as if you as the nurse, you should be well aware that this is a contraindication for this, and therefore if you give them exactly what the doctor have prescribed, this is for example, you're held liable more times than not, and not that doctor. Same goes for pharmacists. I cannot tell you how many stories I have heard from nurses. That's for one. That's what I hear constantly. Nurses get blamed for everything, and everybody can't be lying. So I'm most certainly sure that that is the case. Even my professors, like I said, say it. So no, I don't think anyone's lying here. But you're gonna hear that nurses get blamed for everything. So that can definitely be a huge discouragement for people who is thinking of being a bedside nurse, whether it's for 6 months, 1 year, or 5. Number two, this kind of goes into number one, but they say that nurses are not paid enough for the work that they do. I've been doing so much research on nursing, and I'm not really a big fan of taking out loans and going to school, period, to be honest with you. That's why it took me 10 years to get back into school, but that's for another conversation. But you know, when you think about nursing, you think about the money, right? But from what I have seen physically and visually being in clinical rotations, them nurses, man, they don't get paid enough for the amount of work that they do. Like, a lot of these hospitals, I don't know what's in their contract, but typically from what I've been told, a lot of hospitals have policies where only X amount of nurses can have an X amount of patients. Sometimes from what I've seen, that it doesn't happen like that. Like if there's a shortage of nurses, one nurse is going to have 6, sometimes 7 patients. That may not sound like much to you, but just think about 6 or 7 souls that could be critically ill that you are tasked with taking care of. And if anything goes wrong, and I mean anything, it falls on you. Right? So that sucks. They be running around like a chicken with their head cut off, like a lot of times too. My sister say the same thing. She's actually in school right now to be a nurse practitioner in psych for this very reason. It's just too much. They do too much work for the amount of money that a lot of these hospitals want to pay them. But then again, we do live in Florida as well, and we, from what I've known and researched a long time ago actually, Florida is one of the lowest paying like nursing jobs. That's why a lot of people don't like to be a nurse in Florida, and I don't blame them. But yeah, that's definitely number 2. Nurses do not get paid enough for the amount of work that they do. Number 3, one thing that I hear all the time from everyone that I meet that's in the healthcare field, specifically nursing, is that the family members can make or break your shift. I personally have been observing two different patients specifically whose family members was very difficult, and they were not shy about it. They pretty much want a miracle to happen, and you know, the nurses can only do so much, but you will get told that the family members can make or break your shift, or that the family members all suck. Like, it don't matter how they put it, it's gonna be not nice, it's gonna be negative. So you have to bear that in mind, because that can be discouraging for sure. Number 4, the managers don't care about you. Ain't no need to go into, that's at every goddamn job, but I hear it's really bad in nursing. Like, these managers don't care. They're all for the bottom line. And remember, the managers have somebody that they got to answer to as well. So they're being put pressured on, and then, you know, it's a business. And that's the biggest takeaway in hospitals. It's very sad, to be honest too, because I have seen and heard doctors be outside of a patient's room discussing what they're going to do with the insurance, like before they go in the room and talk to the patient and saying, well, they may have to get discharged because insurance this and insurance that. And it's just like a vicious cycle, y'all. I know those are not managers, but I just thought about that. But back to the managers. Managers can be just like how they are in any other sector, and the nursing field is no different. They could just be a pain in the behind, don't care, allow misconduct to happen and go on, favoritism. I mean, you name it, those things can happen, and it has been told to me by several people, so that's another one. Number 5, the co-workers. The co-workers. The nursing field is a predominantly female-dominated industry. And need I say more? It's a whole bunch of estrogen. I've heard a lot of stories about what they call nurse bullying. Certain seasoned nurses being very lazy, being very entitled, being very rude and nasty to especially the new nurses, but to just anyone. You know, there's a lot of drama and just cackling and just middle school stuff that goes on in the nursing field. I have heard a crap load about that, which is one of the reasons why I didn't want to be a nurse, because I don't like hanging around females like that, because I know what you're getting yourself into more times than not. But that's one thing that I have been told left and right, and I've been told some stories, man, of just how petty a lot of the girls can be, when in actuality, man, like, you would think that somebody would want to be nice to you. You know, if your patient just needs their head of the bed to be elevated, and you ask one of your coworkers if they could do it, you would think that they would go and just simply do it. Number 1, because it's right. It's the right thing to do. You're not doing anything right now, right? Or number 2, because when you need help, you would hope that that same nurse would help you. That doesn't happen a lot in the nursing field, bedside, from what I've been told. So you got to look forward to that, unfortunately, if you want to become a bedside nurse. Number 6, I've been told that there's a lot of lazy CNAs. CNA is short for Certified Nursing Assistant, I believe. Don't quote me, but I believe that's what it's short for. I've heard a lot of stories that nurses have told me, like, oh, get ready when you become a nurse, because a lot of these CNAs, they be hiding from you. You got to find them, okay, because your patient in the room just unfortunately did the number 2 on themselves, and you got 5 patients that you got to give meds to at this time. You're swamped, or you're charting, what have you, and they're nowhere to be found. Like, they're intentionally hiding. I've heard that from 3 different sources at 2 different hospitals, and that sucks, but I guess that's the reality. Number 7, incompetent pharmacists. I talked about this a little earlier, meaning like nurses get blamed if another department mess up the medication. Pharmacists are responsible for dosaging, so they're responsible, like, let's just say a doctor orders 5,000 units of heparin. It's the pharmacist's job to draw up that 5,000 units. You know, nurses aren't in the lab making it, so it's the pharmacist's job to do it. And I've been told flat out that, like, if a pharmacist mess up, like, yeah, call them out on it. Of course, you got to call them and say, hey, you messed up on this order. Document. But, like, let's just say for whatever reason, like, you don't notice it because you don't know what 5,000 units look like. Whatever the situation may be, you trust their word for it, right? Because they're supposed to be the pharmacist. And you give the patient that amount. Let's just say instead of 5,000, they gave you 10,000 and they wrote 5,000 units on it. And something happens, more times than not, that nurse is going to get blamed for it, for sure. Unfortunately, we're going to be told that you were the last person. You were supposed to cross-check, make sure that everything is okay. You were deemed competent when you took your NCLEX to know that this is a contract. They pretty much want you to be God, and nobody's God, not even a doctor's, even if they think they are. So I've been told that can be very discouraging for somebody who's trying to get into the nursing field or who is in nursing school like myself. And last but certainly not least, rude doctors. I believe we all pretty much heard it all. I want to say that's like 99.9%. Like, I've never experienced getting yelled at by a doctor, but I've never been in a situation where I would have to. I'm not in the medical field right now. Even when I was a medical scheduler working remote, I never had to speak with a doctor, but I have heard so many stories from my mom, my sister, and nurses, and my professors who were also working on the floor at some point, that certain doctors and certain departments and fields can be just very nasty. They get pretty much top tier or seniority in the hospital. So yeah, it's just a whole bunch of mess. Oh, and they don't get blamed for a lot of things, unfortunately. Yeah, I've been told about 3 stories so far in my nursing career of doctors that wasn't held responsible for things that they had written up, and the nurse just simply went by it because they're not a doctor. They didn't go to med school, and they were blamed for it, unfortunately. So anyways, y'all, that is 8 things that I thought of at the top of my head, but certainly I'm sure there's more. I know I have a smile on my face, but it's just because it's like, hey, what you gonna do? Anything you do in life, you're always gonna have some discouragement. But like I said earlier in this video, you have to know your why. Why are you getting into the nursing field? You know, because otherwise things like these that I just mentioned, all 8 of these and more, can easily discourage you, right? Me personally, like I said, nursing is not my forever job. Nursing is not the only thing that makes me smile in life, and certainly not bedside nursing from all the things that I have seen and heard, to be honest. You just gotta know what your time limit is, right? You gotta know, like, if you intend on being a bedside nurse and you have dreams of being a bedside nurse until you retire, then you'll have to consider some of these things that I mentioned. And you know, if that doesn't faze you, that's wonderful, but just consider it, because honestly, all 8 of these things that I've mentioned, there's a lot of truth to them. There really is. You just gotta see how bad do you really want it. You know what I'm saying? You gotta know how to navigate through it. Like the family members, the typical family members, or the family members that are also in the medical field that is hovered over your shoulders, you know, trying to get everything known to man done for their mom, their dad, their sister, or what have you. You gotta know how to deal with those things. Me personally, I know I'm gonna have to deal with those things. It's inevitable. That is what I signed up to have to deal with, unfortunately. But it's not really about what I have to deal with. It's more so about for how long I'm gonna have to deal with it. And that's what brings me peace, because you have to have goals. Now, life is life, right? You know, what's the saying that they say, like, while we're making our plans, God is laughing? Like, but that's still no excuse for you to not plan. You got to have some type of goal that you're striving for. I have goals that I'm striving for, and it doesn't include staying in the nursing field for bedside specifically. And I keep saying bedside specifically because the nursing field is so big. It's so much bigger than bedside, you know. And I think I went into that in my other video, but the point that I'm making is you just got to know your why. I tell myself that too, like, Ciara, like, these are your goals, and you hope that your life will go according to what you have planned and prayed about, of course. But yeah, these are things that can discourage you. I'm not gonna lie, they have discouraged me at a certain point, but I remembered my why, and I remembered how long I would be putting up with it. Getting bedside experience, in my opinion, is very helpful. I believe it's necessary, because that's the only way you're really going to get critical thinking skills. Right out of nursing school, like fresh out of nursing school, like you going into a specialty, like you're not going to have any critical skills. You have to, in essence, you got to get down in the dirt and like get your feet wet and get your hands dirty. You got to build up those critical thinking skills for at least 6 months. You know, 6 months to a year, and then you can just go to whatever sector you want to do. If you want to be an RN case manager, okay, you go and do that. If you want to be an informatic nurse, okay, go and do that. If you want to be a travel nurse, okay, do that. There's so many other sectors that you can go into. So that concludes my video, y'all. I hope I helped somebody, you know, recognize all of the discouragement that's out there, and just help you realize to know your why, and know how long you want to put up with stuff, you know, and always put happiness first. My reasons for getting into nursing can be very different from your reason, even with my other dreams and aspirations, because like I mentioned earlier, I really want to be an entrepreneur. I just like running the show, honestly, on my own, and I don't like the politics and all that stuff that you have to deal with and discrimination at these jobs. I'm just over it. But I'm gonna be a darn good nurse though. Like, I have to. For the time that I'm in there, I'm gonna do what I'm supposed to do, but I'm gonna keep my happiness first, you know, because money isn't everything. Money is not everything, and no amount of money can disturb my peace. But you just gotta know how to maneuver around it. Again, I have another year and maybe like 2 or 3 months to go. But yeah, I am fully aware of the things that I've been told. And just before I go, there was a nurse I was shadowing at the hospital that I'm at right now doing my clinical rotations. And boy, oh boy, out of all the nurses that I have shadowed, she was the worst. I'm gonna be honest, she was the worst because of her energy. Her energy, her attitude was just bad. It was really, really bad, y'all. It was bad. Like, don't get me wrong, like, while I can say that I've never went through the amount of stress that a nurse has went through, because I'm not a registered nurse right now, I have been through stress. And as far as I'm concerned, stress is stress. It does not discriminate, and stress is hell, okay? But it's like the way she was behaving to the patients, she was just talking recklessly to her friends. You could just tell she was just over it. Like, she was the poster child for nurse burnout. So much so that I don't even think that she wanted me to shadow her, to be honest. She was like acting like I wasn't there in the beginning, chatting with her friend, literally acting like I wasn't there. And she was black, unfortunately. Disclaimer, that this type of attitude that I am discussing with you happens from every nurse. They could be white, Hispanic, it don't matter. But she was black, so it just made it like, come on now, like, really? Like, you know. But anyways, yeah, she was just very negative. She was negative, complaining a lot. She did open up a little bit, and she helped me out, and I really appreciate that. She allowed me to do some things like flush the IV, and those things I really do appreciate. But unfortunately it doesn't supersede like the energy that she gave. And you could tell that she was just done with nursing, and she kept saying how she wanted to go into another field. Like, not another field, she's still gonna be in the nursing field, but she wanted to be a nurse administrator, like working from home. Like, she straight up told me she don't like people. Flat out told me. She said, I don't like people. She said it like 3 times. She said, no, I don't like people. And I laughed it off because, listen, I'm here as a student just to shadow her and get as much work as possible. She wasn't being rude to me at all, which is really good, because I would hate to have to get it back with her, if that makes sense, because I do that. I really do that. Like, I'm not tolerating disrespect from anybody. But she was just very, very bad energy. Was keep complaining, saying that she can't wait till she go. She want to have a remote job. And it got so bad to when we were in the Pyxis picking out the medication for the patient, I asked her, I said, how long have you been like in the nursing field? She said, going on 2 years. The degree of shock I was when I heard going on, not even 2 years, it was going on 2 years. You would have thought she was in the nursing field for a good 10 years. The way she was behaving. I mean, like, we would be in a patient's room and she's like, just talk like, go up, pull yourself up. You know how to pull I mean, oh my God, guys. It was like, dang, I don't want to be like that. Like, the moment it gets to that, I'm out. You know, and then we had a patient's daughter, the one I was talking about, a patient's daughter who was coming to her. I didn't particularly like the patient's daughter anyway, so I could understand why she behaved like that. I'm not gonna hold you on that. But she did tell me that she was a PCT for some time before she became a nurse. So that's when I was like, oh, okay. That's why she's experiencing this burnout quicker, because she started out like cleaning the patients and all that stuff, dealing with all the stuff that comes with that, and the patients pooping and this and just being rude and nasty, like the patients themselves. So about time she made it to nursing, like, she had already was probably over it. But yeah, y'all, that was just a little nugget I wanted to throw in there, but that was not good. But hey, you're gonna have to deal with some of that. You know, you just have to know why you're doing it and figure out how long you want to do this. And like I say, y'all, don't stay anywhere where you're not happy. And I really wanted to say that to her, but I know that if I said that to her, she may have not received that well, number one, because it would require her to acknowledge that, number one, she's complaining and this nursing student is getting tired of it, and number two, it will require her to take accountability, because it's very easy to keep complaining, but what are you going to do about it? When she was talking to the other nurses about leaving this job and wanting to be an administrator working from home, I really wanted to say, well, why don't you do that? I think that it's best that you do that. I think that you owe it to yourself, the patients, and your coworkers to do what makes you happy, because she's no good to anybody in that state of mind. She's just not. It was not a good experience with her. In fact, next week, well, our professor asked us, like, how was all of the nurses? And I didn't like completely throw her under the bus, but I was rather honest. I said, because I was with 2 nurses. I was with her, but then towards the tail end, I was with another nurse who I loved. I really loved that nurse. Very attentive, positive spirit, but she also gave you the real too, because I don't want nobody lying to me, right? Like, tell me what I'm going to be getting into. But she was the complete opposite of the first one, to be honest. And she too also allowed me to do a lot of things. She in fact allowed me to do more. The nurse who wasn't the most pleasant one, she probably don't care anyway, because in her words, she says she doesn't like people. And then I'm like, girl, and you're a nurse? Like, don't get me wrong, me, I don't care for a lot of people, but I live more so along the lines of, I don't like rude people. I'm okay with nice people. I don't like rude people. But she just said, I don't like people. And if that's the case, baby girl, you shouldn't be here. Like, you're no good to anybody here. Like, I really wanted to tell her, like, why are you still here? You clearly have experienced burnout. You clearly don't like it being a bedside nurse. Why are you here? You know, I would hate to have her as a nurse. I'm gonna be honest. And like I said, she did have some good qualities, meaning she allowed me to do some things on the patients when technically she didn't have. She allowed me to do that, and you know, she wasn't rude to me. So those are two good things, but that doesn't supersede the bad energy and the things that she was saying. Like, I was with her, I'm gonna be honest, I was trying to fake it. Like, she'll, I want to say, crack jokes and she'll laugh, and I really didn't find it funny, honest to God. I did not. But I just laugh so it doesn't look like I'm not laughing. So she'll say something and I'm like, yeah. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, either what did she say, or I'm just like, that wasn't funny. But predominantly the day was just full of her complaining. And I don't think that any student needs to be paired with a nurse with that kind of mindset. We shouldn't be paired with any nurse that has experienced burnout. Because like I said, I've shadowed quite a few nurses and CNAs and PCTs, whatever different aides there are. But I never had one like her. That was a first for me. But hey, this is some of the things that you get. But anyway, y'all, I'm going to wrap it up. I hope y'all gained some type of knowledge or insight from this video. But yeah, that was what this video was about. It was just more of like an insightful video and some advice too, that hopefully someone would take. But until next time, peace. Let's just hit the rewind. We'll just have to rewind.